We have a special TFL truck report for you because we got to answer two very, very important questions we have been receiving.
Absolutely. There's big news going on in the industry right now, and the questions that we're going to talk about in today's video are both, are deleted trucks now legal with some of the administrative changes going on? And will we go back to pre-2007 emissions control in future trucks?
Yeah, of course, this affects all of us here as an enthusiast.
Yep.
Of course, pickup truck community in general. We review brand new trucks here at TFL Truck. And we've been doing so for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So this is very important to what the core of our business as well.
Especially because we do the news, and this is news.
Yeah, this is news. Even though we're not at the breaking edge of news for this.
People have been talking about it.
But I wanted to take our time because I wanted to lay down a little bit of research about this. I didn't want to, jump the gun a little bit because this is important. So this news, these questions are arising because the EPA, well, obviously, we have a new administration over the last few months. The EPA administrator is new, and they announced, this is on March 12, 2025, what they call the biggest deregulatory action in the U.S. history. That's easy for me to say.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You got through it.
Yeah.
So it is, and that's bringing up a lot of questions about how deep does this go? How far are things being walked back? Seems like there's a lot of people cruising around thinking that basically emissions don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and we just wanted to, set it straight, right, based on the information we currently have. Granted, this action that they announced on March 12th, I'm scrolling through the page right now. There's a lot of topics here. And of course, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, has been around since 1970, right? Many, many decades. In December, it will be 55 years. And they are concerned with the entire environment, lakes, streams, oceans, air.
It's not just vehicle emissions.
Not just vehicle emissions. We're focused strictly on diesels. And why is that? Well, first of all, there's still a huge part of our economy as far as pickup trucks and semi-trucks are concerned, but also because they're they're kind of difficult to keep clean. I mean, just because of the nature of the engine itself. And we had a video series at TFL 7 years ago we called The Chemistry of Cars and Trucks. And we have a very deep dive that Charlotte provided for us about the chemistry of all this stuff. But actually, diesel engines are high compression, high temperature. They burn it without ignition, right?
Yeah.
They use compression to ignite the fuel. And they're also very powerful, and that's why we love them. And they're also very efficient.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that we love them because we also live out here in the mountains where we tow at a lot of high elevations and steep grades, and we tow heavy. And having a diesel up here in the kind of terrain that we find ourselves in frequently makes a really big difference. I think if we lived closer to sea level and in a flatter area, we would probably have more gas HD trucks than what we've historically had, but the diesels make a big difference. Also, like you said, on a long trip, the fuel economy is fantastic. The torque we always love. We also love the sound, the experience, everything about driving a diesel truck. It appeals to us.
Yeah, exactly, including going down the mountain, not just climbing up the mountain.
Exactly,
but
exhaust brakes.
Exhaust brakes, yeah. They're helpful, controlling the weight of the trailer and the truck going down. Also sounds cool.
Yeah, and
especially the comments.
Modern diesels, too, are amazing. They've gotten incredibly quiet. They've gotten unbelievably powerful, like the high output power stroke.
Yes.
6.7, 500 horsepower, 1,200 pound-feet of torque. And others in the industry, not even that far behind those numbers. So, yeah, awesome things about diesels. That's why we love them.
Exactly. And so let's start answering these questions. Are deleted diesel trucks now legal? The answer is no. And where do we come up with this stuff? Well, I actually want to lean on SEMA, right? SEMA, some people refer to SEMA or think of it as a gigantic show in Vegas.
Yeah, that's their most outward-facing part of the business.
Yes, but they have a team of people, actually a huge team of people, working every single day of every single month of every year on many different items in the industry, including regulations and communication about it, and also, letting the government know some of the interests of the industry as well. So I'm leaning on that right now. And there's a document they prepared as of, I believe this is March 20th of 2025. And so they're setting the record straight, basically. And this is recent.
Which is nice because any government actions and government documents are always necessarily very complicated and difficult to pore through. So it's great that the folks from SEMA are compiling a little bit of that information into a more digestible form.
Yeah, so I'm not going to read this 2-page document because we'll be here forever and it'll be boring. But basically, here's some of the takeaways. Is the Trump administration ending the EPA? The answer is no.
Yeah, the EPA is still around.
Yeah, it's still around. They appointed a new administrator of the agency, and they're taking these actions, right? So EPA mandates, EV mandates that have existed before. I don't want to focus this discussion on that. That's a whole different topic.
Yeah, different video.
And it's basically, has to do with electric vehicles, also in the commercial sector, which is very important. So SEMA has an answer for that as well. We can use defeat devices again now. Absolutely false, says SEMA. So there's nothing in the latest announcement from the EPA that suggests this.
Yeah.
And basically, Trump administration did say that they're looking to kind of set the EPA standards back to 2020. But also over the last several years, we've been seeing the industry trying to already work to 2026 and 2027 regulations. And that's what we saw last year with this kind of rumor that I'm showing here.
Yeah, this Megamax. And to your point, because it's a good point to bring up, when certain regulations have been in place, it's not necessarily a very quick thing for a manufacturer to pivot their entire engineering strategy for a vehicle over the course of months or even a year. These vehicles take years, plural, for them to work on, develop, engineer, and get out on the road. So just because some things here in the requirements are changing doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see the next couple years of trucks, the few products that are going to be coming out in the immediate future, change in any dramatic way.
Or changing instantly.
Yeah.
There's not such thing as an announcement followed by the next week something changing. I mean, it takes months or years, like you said.
And I feel safe saying you're not going to go to a dealership and find a deleted non-DPF
brand new vehicle right now.
It's not,
no,
it's not going to happen.
No, and as far as we know, that's not coming. Either. So here's the second question. Will we go back to pre-2007 emission control systems? Basically, 2007 for pickup trucks and also some commercial vehicles, that's when DEF came into effect. DEF stands for diesel exhaust fluid, basically a secondary tank that's on your vehicle that injects urea water solution into your exhaust system to clean up some NOx gas emissions.
Yep.
And once again, we have a deep dive into chemistry of that on our sites as well, so you can kind of learn about that. But the answer is no.
So
none of this says that.
Those systems are likely to stick around, as are EGR systems, so an exhaust gas recirculation. The reason for an EGR system is to try and get a more complete burn on some of what's going through the exhaust before it tries to exit the exhaust. Of course, EGR systems are one of the things that people don't like for durability, and we'll talk about some of the drawbacks of emission systems in a moment. But also DPF filters, diesel particulate filters.
Yeah, and here's the thing about diesels. I alluded to this a couple of minutes ago. They're kind of difficult to keep clean. Partially because, it's kind of easy to make power with a turbocharged diesel.
Yeah.
Just add some fuel and,
and some boost.
And some boost and some oxygen coming in. And you have monstrous power capabilities. But once again, you're creating a lot of harmful emissions from standpoint of human health.
Yeah, and in order to design a modern diesel truck that you can go stand next to the exhaust pipe of and you don't notice that it's anything other than hot air. There's a lot of engineering and a lot of components in the emission system required to make that exhaust be that, non-caustic.
Yeah, and also it adds cost to the vehicle, and
Yeah.
we'll mention that as well. And it creates complexity, adds complexity to your truck, and that's why a lot of enthusiasts and you folks out there who purchase trucks for yourself or for your fleets or for your work, we don't like to spend a lot of money maintaining our vehicles, fixing them.
Yeah, no one does.
And also, if it prevents you from doing work, that's critical to your business.
Yeah, if it takes your vehicle off the road, if your vehicle goes into limp mode because of some of those items, then it can be hugely frustrating.
Yeah. So we kind of mentioned, EGR, DEF, DPF systems. And DPF system basically takes care of the black particles that sometimes, you see on some diesel vehicles.
Yeah, so
The soot that comes out of the tailpipe. Some people call it rolling coal. But it doesn't have to be rolling coal like a dark cloud. It can have just a little bit. A lot of states test for opacity. Basically, how see-through is your diesel exhaust. That's been the case in Colorado for, I don't know how many decades. I mean, many decades.
yeah, it's a big part of emissions testing of diesels.
Many states don't test for NOx, but still, that's taken care of by the DEF system.
Yeah.
But why do people are looking forward to remove these systems?
Yeah, and we kind of alluded to it a little
Yeah.
bit. One of the reasons that people like to delete diesels is for that additional durability, because some of these systems can have electronic portions of them that can put your truck into a limp mode if there's something wrong with the DEF system. That's actually happened to a friend of ours, Alex, before.
Yeah.
His DEF injector. It
Got
got kind
clogged or
of
something?
crystallized
Yeah.
and clogged, and so he had to remove it, soak it in hot water, clean it up, do whatever he had to do. And that's happened to him actually multiple times, and his truck has only got 20,000 miles maybe on it.
I am driving my 2022 Ram 2500 right now. It has the Cummins diesel in it. And I'm on my way from the office in Boulder to Vail to do some skiing for the weekend. And I got a light that popped up on the dash and the center screen that said Service DEF System C Dealer. I've only got 11,500 miles on the truck. I bought it about 13 months ago, so it's not brand new, but it's pretty darn new. And seems like I'm either already having emissions system problems or maybe it was a false code. I'm hoping that the code will clear when I restart the truck. So I just got to where I'm going, and it hasn't been that many miles since this happened. Probably only about 20 miles since I got the warning, but continued to drive. I'm gonna shut the truck off. I will open my door, power cycle it, and let's start it up. See if we get a warning. So far, nope. Not so far, so good.
That's been a point of frustration for him. Also, the thing that a lot of us see online when we watch a lot of videos and things about diesel trucks, the EGR systems getting a lot of that soot and buildup into your intake.
Because it's still, the soot still exists.
It's still
right?
there,
and it's trying to get back into your intake system, right?
Yeah, when it recirculates, it ends up back into the intake, and it can massively clog up those systems. So there are maintenance intervals for exactly that, for cleaning out those systems. I want to say on the Cummins trucks, it's maybe around 67,000 miles. I've never actually owned a 6.7 Cummins, so
Yeah.
that's all just
And
based on what I'm
it
told.
varies on different engines.
Yeah.
I actually owned a 2002 VW diesel Golf,
Yep.
a Golf TDI. I used to have to clean my EGR. That was an older vehicle.
Same thing, yeah.
I also cleaned it, I think, every 6 years. So probably every 70 to 80,000 miles, I had to clean it.
Yeah, and some of these trucks that are doing a lot of work, hot shotters that are driving cross country all the time, you might run into those
Every year,
mileage,
maybe.
mileage intervals, very, very frequently.
Yeah.
So it can be definitely a pain point for people. So those are some of the reasons that folks out there choose to delete their vehicles.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of studies, and that's why, EPA rules have been there before, is negative health effects for people, especially living near, commercial centers like ports or other transportation centers or even interstates, highways with a lot of kind of diesel emissions from semi-trucks and other vehicles are entering, they're breathing this in. And, there's different lung problems, lung cancer, birth defects. There's many different problems that could potentially be caused by this.
There's unfiltered, uncontrolled diesel emissions have carcinogens in them. It's pretty well documented that it's not good for your health to sit there and suck on the pipe of an old diesel truck.
Or be near them, for
sure.
any extended period of time.
Absolutely.
And many people don't have an option to. I mean, if you have an apartment building near an interstate, you don't have an option to not live there, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, so this is where we are. So, also, if this was the case, if delete devices were suddenly legal, you would see, everybody react. Manufacturers may put out a statement. Aftermarket manufacturers may put out statements.
Yeah.
We've seen none of this. None of the manufacturers are doing anything to change course as of right now.
Yeah, and none of what's happening right now with some of those regulations walking back, if there's any takeaway from this video, none of what's being walked back right now is as extreme as what I think some people might be gathering from trying to go through these admittedly very complicated and difficult government documents.
But also, I would also want to say, well, we try to stay out of politics as much as possible. We're reviewing vehicles.
We do trucks.
Not politics. We don't review politicians. But it's also not good for a business, any business, with too much regulation, right? When regulation, government is forcing you to do, jump through many hoops that cost money and delay things.
Yeah.
Obviously, over-regulation is also very bad for business.
And it can make things very difficult, and that's why we've seen major manufacturers in the past having their own diesel emissions defeat systems because it is that difficult, can be that difficult to actually comply with some of these regulations and still have a profitable vehicle.
Yeah. So that's a very important topic. That's why we're talking about it.
Absolutely.
And we did mention it adds cost to any vehicle, right? Because you're adding additional systems to your diesel-powered vehicle, no matter what vehicle you're talking about.
Yeah, and all those components cost money.
Yeah, and actually, these systems are also evolving and changing and getting better. You and I did a Cummins video in my garage office, my office. About now using electric heating elements to do regen cycles on DPF systems, which acts faster and quicker and more efficient.
Yeah, than using extra fuel to heat up.
Exactly. So these systems are actually improving, getting better, and they're going to be cleaner. I don't know if they're going to be cheaper necessarily.
No, maybe not cheaper, but maybe in the long run, because they might use less fuel, like in your specific example, use less fuel to achieve the same result. So the operation might be a little bit less expensive if vehicles get more efficient, more fuel efficient with those added, newly developed kinds of systems.
Yeah, and I looked up just this morning, the most affordable, cheapest heavy-duty pickup truck that has a diesel engine, turbo diesel. It's kind of a tie between Ford and Chevrolet at about $57,900. They're about $20 apart from each other. Currently, Ford is $20 cheaper. And then Ram actually currently requires you to get a 4x4 with your Cummins, which makes it about $62,000. So that's the absolute minimum cost of a diesel heavy-duty pickup truck right now.
Yeah.
But you and I have tested many trucks at $90,000 and $100,000 for a pickup.
And it's a crazy world that we live in. The fact that a two-wheel drive diesel starts at $58,000.
And we're talking about zero options.
Oh,
no options.
Vinyl floors, cloth seats,
yes.
The small screens, all of which is fine. But for almost $60,000, it's a lot of money for a basic truck.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, hopefully this helps you. I'm sorry this wasn't like a week ago. But I just really wanted to kind of get down to some of the facts.
We wanted to take the time to try and digest some of that information.
So thank you. Hopefully that answers your questions, and we'll see you as always next time. We have many videos coming on our channel that are actually reviews.
And we've got a lot of diesel videos recently.
Yes, and more on the way. So really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.